This is a favourite family dish, I'm sure for many of you as well as in my family. It's chicken cacciatore. It's so quick and easy to do. You whip it together and it'll take about half an hour on the stove top. Now I'm going to use chicken thighs, one because I reckon they taste a whole lot better. They're a little bit moister, they do have a touch more fat, but listen, you know, don't worry about that. They have more iron and zinc, so more of that brown poultry meat actually contains more of those kinds of nutrients. So all I'm going to do is toss them in some whole grain flour. Now we are ready to go. So I've got my pan nice and hot. I'm going to put a good drizzle of extra virgin olive oil into the bottom of my pan. And then we're just going to brown these chicken pieces off. So just pop them into the oil and you're going to brown them on all sides. So the interesting thing about extra virgin olive oil is if you think about what did they cook with and what do they still cook with, for many centuries in the Mediterranean region, it's extra virgin olive oil. And now we've got the science to show just how well extra virgin olive oil cooks. So the smoke point is a bit of a moot point. It actually doesn't tell you how the oil behaves very well at all, under heat or over time. So you actually have to do the scientific studies to look. And the interesting thing is, not only is this a very stable kind of fat, the monounsaturated fat, in extra virgin olive oil, all of those polyphenols and the vitamin E protects the fat as it's heated. So this is a really, really good oil to be cooking with. Brown it on both sides and then we're going to remove that chicken from the pan. So once you've got your chicken nicely browned on both sides, so I'm not cooking it through at this point, just browning, remove your chicken from the pan so that we're ready to do exactly the same thing, saute all our veggies. Put that aside for a second. I'm using some Spanish or red onion. Saute your onion first, and you don't want it to burn, but you just want it to get a little translucent and nicely softened. So that'll take just a couple of minutes in the pan. And while that's cooking, I'm just going to slice up some red capsicum. And you can dice this up small if you've got kids who are a little fussy with their veggies. I like to leave it into nice fine slices. Okay, and I'm just going to add my capsicum to the pan, and then our mushrooms go in, and I'm just using everyday common button mushrooms, saute that up, and then last I'm adding a generous, 2 or 3 cloves of garlic, depending how much you love your garlic. I'll add a pinch of salt. Try not to add too much salt, it's always easier to season a little more if you need to. So that is looking really lovely. Now I'm just going to move my veggies slightly to the side and I'm going to add my red wine to the pan. Now don't worry if this is a family meal, the kids are going to have it because all of that alcohol is going to evaporate off. And I'm going to add my herbs. So I've got some sage, some rosemary and some parsley. Make sure you've got a fabulous cupboard of herbs and spices, all dried and ready to use. Now into that goes our can of tomatoes, and this is a really lovely Australian-grown tomatoes. I love that it's already nice and thick. It's got some tomato paste in there. So all we need to do is add that 1 can, and we've got a beautiful, thick, rich tomato sauce developing. Smell of the wine with the herbs is really coming through now. This is a very polyphenol-rich dish. It's fabulous. The tomatoes are adding lycopene, which for you gentlemen, is especially good for you, been shown to reduce your risk of prostate cancer. I'm putting about a cup of chicken stock. And you can use homemade chicken stock if you've got it. I'm just using a ready-made concentrated stock. The chicken goes back in, along with any flour that's in my bowl. Give it all a good mix. Coat the chicken well in that sauce. And then the last little cheeky ingredient is about a tablespoon or so of real honey. Just gives that touch of sweetness, brings out the flavour of the tomatoes, just brings that sauce together nicely. Okay, and I'm going to pop the lid on, simmer that for about 30 minutes or so, just until the chicken's cooked through and the sauce is lovely and thick. While the chicken's cooking, we're going to cook the polenta. Do make sure you're reading the pack to understand, because polenta can take anything from 10 to 30 minutes, depending on the type of polenta you've got. About 1 litre of water for a cup of polenta. So I'm going to bring that to the boil, sprinkle in your polenta, stirring continuously, and then let it simmer until it's gorgeous and thick, almost like a kind of mashed potato. So I've finished off my polenta just with some extra virgin olive oil and some Parmesan cheese. Really just beautifully lifts the flavor, and you've got that lovely creaminess today. Now let's take a look at our chicken. That is looking fabulous. So you can see the sauce is nicely developed. The chicken's thickened through. There's a beautiful smell. All I need is a little extra fresh parsley to go onto the top. And we are ready to serve this up. So a couple of beautiful, nice, and this is why I like it so chunky with the chicken pieces. Add some of those beautiful veggies on the top. Fresh parsley. Now, doesn't that just look gorgeous? That is perfect for a midweek meal, or it's good enough and fancy enough to feed your friends on the weekend. And I love to serve it with a lovely green salad, simply dressed with extra virgin olive oil and perhaps a little salt and pepper. And that's it. Dinner is in a flash.